Doctor Who, Series 1, 2005 series, best series of the show ever. That's all we have to say about that. Honestly, what's the point in doing a video? Because it is the best series ever.
Alright, well, we'll see you next time, guys. Remember to like and subscribe.
Welcome to the visual podcast series that is Doctor Who Review, where a man and his wife, which is completely original format, no one else has done that, watch Doctor Who from the very beginning.
Is that something somebody's done?
There's like a couple of iterations of this and a few versions. Some of our like peers and friends have like takes on it.
Oh really?
There's one that's, I can't remember what it's called, but there's one that is literally a bloke introducing it to his wife. The difference there being his wife had seen none of it. So it was like, you know, whereas this was you turning to me in the spring of 2018 and going, that MCU marathon was fun. Let's marathon Doctor Who.
Well, just bring it on you.
And I reached, you did, like a, oh, terrible. And I reached for this box set, albeit not the Steelbook version, that came out a bit later. I reached for this box set, and you went, no! And we started with Hartnell. And here we are, over 2 years later, of our watching, and currently in 2021 for this slot, continuing our marathon. What's interesting here is we are sat recording this particular video podcast on November the 23rd, 2020. We're still in the second UK-wide lockdown. It's the 57th anniversary of Doctor Who.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Doctor Who! Except
Dr.
this makes no sense outside of us in this moment, because, you know, you guys are watching this in, like, April or whatever. So, Yerb. Doctor Who. We continue the Series 1 marathon in glorious high definition with The Long Game by Russell T Davies. The Long Game. Oh, we're mid-series. What the hell is happening? Episodes that usually plunk things down, but Doctor Who figured out something during its reboot. It figured out that mid-series is usually when a show of any length, a season of any length, has an audience dip. People tune in at the beginning.
Yeah.
People check out the finale. So in the middle, it's true, it just casual people, like not everybody, but if you want to hook everybody, you've got to telegraph that mid-series you're going to have some events.
Yeah.
Series 1 does that very, very strategically and very big and obvious with Dalek. Like mid-series, the return of the show's greatest monster, you know, the biggest pop cultural icon to come out of the show, appears in a story mid-series, and it was still secret at this point, if I remember correctly, in 2005, that they were in the finale as well. So,
spoilers!
So, 16 years on, yeah. So, you know, to follow up Dalek, you need an episode that is either of equal importance, or to really... The dog just tripped up in the doorway.
Or to... Min, you okay?
Minnie. Or to really... oh, she's fine.
Hey, no. Oh, she's missing a leg.
She's missing her limbs. She's got a hole in her head that opens when we click. You need to either follow up with an episode of equal importance or another kind of like, oh my god, that was a gripping one. The Long Game, I think, is, in terms of the perception of this series by the fan narrative at large, this is the sort of the joint weakest one of the series with Boomtown. I don't think this series has a single weak story, but I definitely get why people think Long Game and Boomtown are the most kind of, yeah, not fussed about those ones.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not important. What's great about this is, you've just watched Dalek, the immediate next episode, seemingly throwaway in the grand scheme of things, is setting up the finale. Because what happens in the finale, slight spoilers for the stories ahead, we return to Satellite 5 in the future. It's now the game station, and we find out who was pulling the strings and put the Jagrafess in place in that part of human history on purpose. Which you don't realise when you're watching this one. It's just it's a weird, quirky throwaway episode with a scary media regime and everyone's like, it's a cool idea and is still depressingly prevalent. The idea that media narratives are shaped to deliver a specific story to people. Yeah. In this case, just to keep people rattling along. And everyone in the employ of Satellite 5 believes that they are full of journalistic integrity and reporting the truth. Not knowing that a large portion of the truth is purposefully not being delivered to them to even look at. So they're doing news stories on like 10% of what's going on.
Yeah.
Because they don't even know who their boss is.
Would you ever work for a company where you didn't know who the boss was?
God no. God no.
Yeah.
But the thing is, a lot of us do. A lot of us do. You get a vague idea. You only really know because you see their name on like maybe your inductory email or on a contract. You very rarely meet them. I know the company you're currently working for, like, you've met the bosses.
Yeah, lots of times.
But that's because it's a relatively, in the grand scheme, small company. It's like bosses and a large handful of stores.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
It's not a huge chain.
Yeah.
It's a chain. So, whereas, like, someone working for McDonald's has never met the boss of McDonald's.
Yeah, I guess.
Unless Ronald's popped into the store.
Ronald!
But,
sorry, I got excited then.
But like myself, I've worked for a lot. I've worked long-term contracts for like a lot of media places, and you know your immediate bosses, and you know who you're working for, and you talk to them, and you get to know them. But even then, they answer to someone else who I've never met, and so it's sort of unavoidable in a way. What's nice about this is it's really it's the A plot of the episode, but it's kind of the B plot of what the story wants to do. If that makes any sense. Yeah. Like it's so the main plot: the Doctor and Rose with new friend Adam from Dalek arrive on Satellite 5. Rose is trying to show off. She's being a bit flash. They learn about what's her name? Is it Kathika? Kathika, and they meet her and Suki, and they learn about like the way that people media spike. They've had these implants that mean you can connect to basically the internet and download what you need. And one person does that while everyone else kind of siphons their chip to focus, so they can. It's like the human brain can't quite handle it, so everyone gathers around and helps them out, and boom, there they go. They've got the information they need, and they can tell the story, and la la la. It's like a download directly to the brain. Yeah,
and everybody's based on different floors, and depending on where you are in like your career, you're on a different floor.
And the coveted floor 500 is the one everyone wants to get to. It's the one where the walls are allegedly made of gold, and if you go there, you don't tend to come back, which must mean that you love it. That's sort of the presumed thing is that people never come back, so they must obviously be like happy beyond belief. They must be in the best place ever. What's really going on floor 500 is there is a large computer system with even more data at its disposal, being overseen by an editor and the corpses of former employees who are essentially just like parts of the machine still used because everyone's got a chip in them. So the chip is keeping the corpse functioning so it can do its job, even if the person is dead.
Would you go somewhere if you were told, hey, the walls are made of gold?
Oh, God, no.
No, it sounds hideous.
This is an El Dorado.
I don't want to go into Donald Trump's apartment. Gross.
I shit in a gold toilet. Hey, future. What's going on with that? Is he definitely gone? Please let us know.
Is he in prison? I hope he's in prison.
I hope he's in prison. I hope he fell into prison after stumbling down a very small inclined ramp. Anyway,
oh god.
So we learn that the boss shaping the narrative and essentially affecting how the human race on Earth in that year digests news is a creature called the Mighty Jagrafess of the Holy Hadrajasic Maxarodenfo.
I'm so impressed.
I'm not. It's sad.
It is.
These were my wedding vows.
I do.
I do, Max. Who the editor, it sort of implies, I guess, that maybe his chip means he can understand it, because none of our other characters can understand it. The editor, of course, played by Simon Pegg, one of several comedy actors hidden in this story. And the Jagrafess is shaping the narrative. Why? We don't find out in this story. We don't learn why until later. It's a great idea. The Doctor's like, this is the height of the whatever, is it the 9th or whatever, or the something great and bountiful human empire, whatever it's called. And they get there and...
It's like 90 years behind or something.
Yeah, it's specifically something like 92 years technologically and socially. Human history is 92 years beyond where it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Because like it would have started 90 years ago. When did Satellite 5
And this is about 90
begin.
years old. When did the satellite go?
Yeah, and she's like 92 years ago. It's like, oh shoot, which is great.
Oh damn!
Because Kathika's very much a like, no, I'm working hard and I've worked for this all my life and I'm going to get where I'm going to get and I'm going to, dot the I's and cross the T's and do what the bosses say because I want that position on floor 500. And through Rose and the Doctor and Adam faffing around and pretending to be inspectors and bosses, which is a really nice cover that Eccleston and Piper especially play really well.
Yeah.
My second favourite example of Rose in disguise. My first one is the Idiot's Lantern from next series, but we'll get to that.
What I really like was
that smug grin before she just slides out the doorway.
when she gets out onto the onto the floor where everybody is. Oh, and there's nobody there at the moment, is there? When they get
There's no one there immediately, but then lunch bell rings essentially.
Yeah, and the Doctor tells her where they are, and then she pretends to.
Yeah.
What's it that?
She even dresses more space agey as well. She's got quite a slick jacket and tight black pants. So she's got a very Star Trek kind of look in this episode.
Yeah, she does, I guess.
Yeah, she's really bright, showing off to Adam,
Adam, that's it.
who seemingly gets culture shock and has to go away, and then starts to funnel information using the souped-up mobile, that souped-up Nokia, starts to funnel information back to his mum in the present day for him, so 2012 for him. And yeah, that's the real plot of this story. The A plot is investigation and Suki undercover and, what's it? Lies! Click and all that stuff. The editor knowing about the underground movement and all these things and the Dragon Fest. That is really the B plot. The purpose of this episode is to show the viewer, hey, not everyone deserves to be a companion. Because we've never really had this.
No.
We've never had the Doctor go, get out, go away, you don't, qualify, leave us. He invites Mickey at the end of World War III, and Mickey turns it down and tells the Doctor to pretend that he won't let him.
Yeah.
To save face. The real purpose of this is to show that Adam goes behind the Doctor and Rose's back to feed stuff back to his own time. Not for some devious plot, but because he's think of the advances, think of the things we could do for the human race. The Doctor's think about how you could completely destroy and screw up history. So after he gets an implant from the lovely Tamsin Greig...
Yeah, it seems it seems a bit oddly sexually charged, that conversation.
Those things, well, I think it's because she's basically trying to, put on an air of, it's the latest thing you really do want to
you're
get
rich. Here we go.
She's absolutely just, schmoozing him into spending money on the procedure to get the spike in his head.
Yeah.
So I think it's a perfectly pitched performance from Tamsin Greig, because you need to believe that Adam is, and Bruno Langley, for all of his many faults,
many faults,
he delivers this well, because you do sort of believe he's having second thoughts once it comes to the operation. He's like, I shouldn't, no, what am I doing? This is insane. So she is the final kind of push that lets his selfish motivation go, all right, go on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think she plays it the right way, but it is all his fault, and he's not sorry for it when they get back. He apologises, but no. So we find that
he sends himself messages, doesn't he?
Yeah, leaves messages on his mum's answer phone.
Yeah,
back
it's
in the
don't
UK.
delete this.
It'll sound like nonsense. Just a lot of dog acting of a dog listening to an answer phone, getting concerned. So we find out that the reason Satellite 5 is roasting, and the reason why all of that's going on, is because the Jabberfest, this horrible, hideous, sort of Jabba the Hutt meets Jaws, meets something from Slither, meets that big fat vampire from one of the Blade movies.
I was talking to my sister about this. I've never seen a Blade movie all the way through. Not a single one.
Watch the first and the second.
I feel like I've committed a crime. Sorry.
So after that tangent,
I was told not to go off on tangents. I'm very sorry.
We have limited time.
I'm sorry.
This memory card's shite. So what was it? Oh yeah, so the Jaggerfest is being kept cool and all the heat's venting downwards. So Kathika overrides it. I love the idea of someone really grilling the Doctor and Rose and be like, you don't exist. According to we can find out who everyone is and get basic information on everybody, like bank cards,
They are no
like
one.
school grades. Yeah, there's nothing. They can't find anything on these guys. That's unique. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And I like that the Jagrafest sort of has a little bit of a one-up because of Adam's Spike giving away information.
What I was surprised of, though, was... Sorry, the dog's looking at me. Was that the Doctor didn't go like, oh, what are you doing to him? Stop it! What are you doing?
What about Adam?
Yeah.
Because they weren't hurting him. They were
Well,
just...
it kind of... Well, they were, because it looked like... Because he was, like, screaming in pain.
He was just freaking out.
No, he was screaming in pain. It was, like, too much... It was too much for his little brain hole.
Yeah, do you know why? Because he did it on his own.
Yeah, I know, but, like, from the looks of it, it just looked like he was screaming in pain.
Kathika doing it was brave, because she knew what was at stake and she was trying to save everyone by killing the Jagrafess. Whereas Adam's stupid and selfish. So it's very much a, like, he did it to himself and he absolutely deserved the punishment, because the Jagrafess gets exploded in a big gory mess, and the corpse
that's gross.
the corpse of Suki, just through the Jagrafess, but obviously it's nice poetic justice that the undercover person who's killed because of the editor earlier on is the corpse that holds him still while the Jagrafess explodes, and he effectively dies because he'll have, like, been crushed under, like, globs of gore and meat from the ceiling.
Meat.
Yeah, the Doctor can't prioritise finding out what's really going on because there's something slightly more important he needs to do now. Like, he leaves it to Kathika, you can help mop it up, I'm off.
Yeah.
Storms back into the TARDIS, takes Adam back to 2012.
He, like, physically grabs him, though,
He
doesn't
does.
he?
It's really scary. That shot was just walking toward him. It's really kind of like, oh. Takes him to his mum's, destroys the answer phone, and then leaves him there with a thing that opens on his forehead when it clicks. Which seems really cruel, but then you realise the point he's making is you have to live a very quiet life now.
Yeah.
I guess it's insurance, isn't it? It's to make sure that he won't go anywhere with the information he's got, because he's screwed. And then you get the comedy ending of his mum clicking and be like, you know, you go away and you come back and it's just like, it's like you've barely been gone in line, just like that.
Oh my goodness! Is it, like... Would he be able to access any of that information?
No, because the technology compatible with it
doesn't exist yet. It's not like he could use it in any way.
What, on the answer phone, you mean?
No, like, he couldn't use, like...
Oh, no, but he could absolutely be, like, people are like, how the hell did you get that? Like, he'd be a freak, he'd become a freak, he'd become hounded by people, and... So it's very much a case of, like, you've led yourself to this. This episode has 3 sequels. One is the finale, because this is all set up for the finale.
Yeah.
2 is the comic book series... I can't remember what it's called now, but it was out the year of the 50th anniversary, where the events of the long game play a prominent role in that story. So if you want to find out what happens when you leave somebody with that technology from the far future in 2012, seek that one out, folks. And it's a comic book story.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it afterwards because I have it. If you want to read it, it's 3 volumes. It's one story with each of the then current Doctors.
Because that's a really interesting.
And Smith's Doctor ties in the main narrative and concludes it in the last issue. It's worth reading. It's fun. It's really fun. But yeah, detracting. But the other sequel is Father's Day, the next episode by Paul Cornell, because again, the previous episode was really about some people aren't responsible enough or considerate enough and are too selfish to do this. And then what happens in the next episode after the Doctor's already been betrayed by Adam? Rose does the same thing.
Yeah. For a different reason, though.
For a different reason, but as far as the Doctor sees it, this is a Doctor who, by this point, we've been able to gauge, has been through some shite, and Rose is the only sort of glimpse of the normal existence he used to have. Like, meeting Rose has kind of reawoken that love of the universe and travelling and sharing it with someone. And now she's, as far as he's concerned, she's betrayed him the exact same way that Adam did.
Yeah. But kind of worse in a way because Adam was just...
Well, he says, like, was this your plan from the beginning? He says, I told you this travelled through space, that you weren't interested. I said it travels through time, and you came straight aboard. He's essentially saying, like, have you been planning this since you found that out? Because the events
using me.
Because Paul Cornell's Father's Day, which again, amazing script. One of those writers who's not written for the show very much, and when he has, it's always been a really solid story. Rose tells the doctor the story of her dad who died when she was like a baby, and the fact that her mum always said that like there was no one with him when he died. So could she just be there? Could she go there and see him so that there's someone with him as he passes away because he was killed in a hit and run, and the doctor agrees that it's quite heavy, but it's sort of nice that they want to give it a sense of closure. And it begins with a flashback of Jackie telling like a very young Rose the story about her dad.
Yeah.
So they do that, and she's terrified, and she doesn't summon up the courage to go to him. Like she's too scared, isn't she? So they leave. And she's like, can we try again, please? And the doctor's like, this is dangerous because you and I are already there. So we have to wait until we leave and then you can go to him. And Summit just takes her over and she runs over and saves him from being run over. Running past, this is the most chilling shot for me at the start of it, when Rose runs past the doctor and Rose from like half an hour ago and they see her. She saves her dad. They look at each other as though they're about to, like, what's going... And they both just disappear from existence. Because things are different now.
Weird.
It's so creepy. So, Pete Tyler, played by... What's the actor's name? Sean's a minute. Sean Dingwall plays Pete Tyler in a very, very late 80s looking story.
Yeah.
Collars and perms and eye makeup.
Peach and frills.
And salmon shirts. It's a relative of Jackie's wedding and Jackie's bridesmaid, and Pete's late. That's the day. He was late to the wedding. And now he's met this girl who saved his life. And Rose is delighted. Her dad is alive. And as the doctor points out, there's a man alive today who wasn't before, an ordinary man. That's the most important thing. Because she's like, what, you don't care just because he's some ordinary bloke? He's like, you don't understand. That makes him more important than anyone.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't, a history-changing event. This is an anomaly. This is something that should not be. And without his people, they make a point, like, without the Time Lords being around anymore, they don't know what happens when time is broken this severely. This episode answers that question. Reapers. Big, creepy, swooping, bat-like things. Big bastards. Break through a rift and begin to devour inconsistencies and anomalies. Specifically, all the people in the area. And they will carry on going. Why? Because they're basically like bacteria eating away at a wound. But they're there to cleanse it. They're like, friendly bacteria. They're the white blood cells. They're there to like repair things.
Are they kind of thinking, something's awry, let's just clear it until we've...
That's what they are. They're
clear it until we've fixed it.
They bite away at what's wrong and devour it. But the problem is, once you've got rid of the next person, well, their family now has an inconsistency, so you have to spread out. And as the doctor points out, like, time is going to start getting affected. The first telephone call starts playing on everybody's mobiles.
That's horrifying.
Yeah. The TARDIS has no interior. It's just a police box. Like
that was really weird to see.
Because he drops off. He leaves. Rose is like, right, bye. Like, goodbye. And you can sort of get the feeling that he's not going to leave. You get the feeling he's going to come back, but he just kind of needs to get away because he's like, for God's sake. Like, he's just so angry.
He needs to think in his own area.
Yeah, he's so angry, and you don't blame him. You don't blame her for reacting the way she does, but she's absolutely in the wrong here.
Yeah.
And this is very much, again, a story about how, like, other people shouldn't have to clean up your mess. Like, you need to admit when you're wrong. Because ultimately, Pete, who was never a good dad, it turns out. He was unattentive. He loved his baby girl, but he barely spent time with her. He was possibly cheating on Jackie. He was wheeling and dealing and spending all this money on stock.
For
never
things
making
that
money
were
back.
dodgy, yeah.
Yeah, like, he wasn't a good dad, he wasn't a good husband. But when he starts to figure out what's going on, he's the one who puts things right.
Yeah.
And
he like, recognises her.
Yeah, well, from the beginning, he's like, there's something about you. And you can't quite tell. And then later on, he just sort of... It really kind of unfolds. The pacing of this is brilliant.
She called him Dad. And he was like, the heck are you calling me Dad for? What the heck?
Yeah.
And
because Jackie's like, oh, is this like, oh my god, how young were you? Like, thinking she's an illegitimate daughter and stuff.
What were you, 12?
Yeah, it's the whole, like, this is Rose. Like, well, she's called Rose. Well, how many other Roses have you got? That's sick. Camille Kajuri's great. Bless her, she's amazing, but they didn't make her look younger. She looks older, if anything, in this. And we were talking about this while we were watching it. Is that just because we're used to seeing the 80s in photos that we grew up in households with?
Yeah, I guess.
Because we're both 90s kids. We're both born in 91. So the 80s are photos of our parents and relatives.
Yeah.
So we think of them as older. But I don't know, watching it this time, I think Camille looks older in this than she does in Rose. And I don't think it's the fashion specifically. I just don't think they took any steps to make her look younger, and as a result, it's weird. It's like, how old is Jackie? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's clearly meant to be in like her late 20s here. So
I know, I'd have thought
how old is she?
Being in like her mid-20s, early 20s.
I get, well, yeah, so this is set about 20 years before...
So if she was in her late 20s,
this is set,
like
this is set 18 years before the events of Rose. So it's the late 80s. So... Yeah, because Jackie's clearly meant to be like her early 40s in by the time of Rose, early to mid 40s.
It'd be like 19 years.
18
years.
Well, yes,
Rose is 19.
19 years since we last saw her, because obviously when we came back in Aliens, we were in 2006. We skipped a year. Because the present day story of Doctor Who from this point for a few years is always 1 year ahead the year of broadcast of the show.
So it'd be like 19 years ago.
So, but what I'm saying is, 80s Jackie looks like she's in her 40s.
Yeah. 2000s
Jackie doesn't look like she's in her 40s. She looks a bit younger, but they've made her sort of look more mummish to make her look like a mum. It's weird how it all works.
It is.
Whereas, again, Sean Dingwall. Sean Dingwall just has a very youthful face, despite being, sort of balding, and they dress him as a dad trying to look trendy, and he still kind of looks like a big kid. Which is sort of the point. This is a man not living up to responsibility.
Yeah.
You have to take responsibility for your actions and not let other people sort out your messes. Which Rose does in this. She doesn't take responsibility for her actions. The Doctor is, again, he's very active in this, but he's a passive force in the ongoing narrative. Like we've said, this series, he very rarely saves the day. Other people do it, or he gives them the means to do it.
Yeah. In
this one, he's trying. He honestly doesn't know what to do, but he's trying to save the day. And they can hold up in a church, because it seems that things that are older are more protected, like more sacred ground almost. The Reapers can't get in yet. So they use the TARDIS key to like materialise the TARDIS in the church.
Mm-hmm. Get in the church!
Get in the church! We love you, Billy. Yes, they go through all this stuff to try and make it work, but there's only one way out. The wrong has to be righted. Everything has to be corrected before it's too late. And it's Pete who figures it out, although Pete says later on that he thinks the Doctor worked it out sooner, he just didn't want to tell him. Because outside the church, the car that was supposed to have hit him keeps appearing, turning a corner. The driver acts like it's about to hit something, and then it vanishes into thin air.
Yeah.
So
it's stuck in a loop until it can fulfill its
It's like a
destiny.
fail-safe, essentially. It's like, that's it. Like, before it's too late, this thing needs to be done, and everything will be fine. And it's a ticking clock, because obviously if Pete dies, then that's not going to get righted. That wrong's not going to be righted if he gets killed by a Reaper.
Yeah.
And or if Jackie gets killed by a Reaper, like, time will have changed, and certain things around this event. Pete is the nexus of it all.
Because he's got to die.
Young Mickey's mum gets, eaten and stuff, and all this that and the other. So in the end, Pete twigs it. He gets to spend a brief bit of time, no matter how terrifying, with his future daughter. Rose holds baby Rose in her arms and screws up time and
lets them into the church essentially. Because the doctor was like, "Don't touch the baby."
Yeah, you're not going to grow up to destroy the world, are you? He's just like trying to coax her into. And this is where we get the phrase "stupid ape" from as well. This is the episode.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it again. I've picked another stupid ape. And he's sort of the alienness of him comes back. His disdain for humans, because the Doctor loves humanity and he loves Earth. We know this. All of them have had an affinity for Earth in some way, even if they say they don't, like the Third Doctor. But Rose was obviously the first person to be reconnected with and finally formed a friendship with after the Time War, and now he's doubting himself. This is great. Sean Dingwall, I think, steals it from everyone. Billy Piper does an amazing job. The Doctor feels rightly angry in this, but it's still kind of upsetting to see.
He feels a bit out of his depth, I think.
Oh yeah, he's screwed. He's absolutely screwed.
I feel like...
I mean, he gets devoured.
I feel
he's gone, he's dead. He gets killed in this story before everything gets reset by Pete.
I feel like he should have really known what Rose wanted to do and should have...
Well, I think he trusted her to... But he seems hesitant when they're talking about it at the beginning.
I don't know. If I was a time traveller and you said you wanted to be there when one of your family members died, I would, even just in the back of my mind, would think they'd want to stop it.
Well, they have that conversation. He says, like, don't you think my entire race, like my whole family, wiped out? Do you honestly think I wouldn't go back and change it if I could? But I can't. It happened. It can't be changed. He makes a point of it.
He makes a point of it, but I think that...
I think it's because he forgets she's a kid. She's 19. She's never really known grief because she wasn't old enough to know about her dad dying. So she acts on impulse in that moment. But I know what you mean. Like, maybe you should have been more kind of like, I'm not even kidding. If you move, I will throw you in a volcano.
I would have not gone there in the first place because it's too tempting. We're all human. That's where that phrase comes from. There's some...
From the episode Doctor Who, Father's Day from 2005.
Shut up.
It was never said before that.
Stab it. There's something innate in all of us. If we were to go back and change something, would we be able to stop ourselves from doing it? Say, like, you're... don't know...
I mean, this is the perfect analogy. Like, a parent dies in a tragic accident.
Yeah.
You'd want...
If you were there,
if you could change
and
that,
you could stop it, would you?
Yeah.
And I think that's something innate in every person in the world.
Which is why it's relatable. But it's also, again, the story being about taking responsibility for your actions.
Exactly.
And part of that is, growing as a person, is thinking about what that action could lead to before you take it.
Yeah.
And Rose doesn't.
But that's what I'm saying. I think the Doctor should have thought, she is human, maybe this is not a good idea. So I think that it's kind of his fault as well.
There's a beautiful coda to it at the end as we go back to the flashback of Jackie telling the story to young Rose. But now it's slightly different. He was in the road out front of a church on the wedding day. No one quite knows why he was there, but he got hit, they think, on the way in. Because the way it works is everyone's returned and everyone's memory of the events is hazy. It's like while the wound was open, everyone's kind of like, they don't recall it exactly anymore. Because of course they didn't suddenly like look around and everyone was still dead. Like, everyone was back. It was like everything reset, except Pete was hit in the road out front of the church, and there was someone with him. There was a woman with him as he passed away.
Yeah. Like,
someone had obviously got to him first and cradled him. So the story has changed now. Like, as far as the actual history being altered, all that's different is there was someone with him when he died.
Yeah.
And we know it was Rose. We move on to Stephen Moffat's first contribution to the official show now, outside of parodies. This is a two-parter. This is probably the most infamous story from this series in terms of, like, the legacy of this first series. It's sort of Dalek and this one, really, the ones that people always go back to mentioning.
Yeah.
And for good reason. It's a really strong story.
Oh my god.
The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances. A two-parter, second one of the series. We get another cliffhanger within the stories. We get the introduction of the Russell T Davies and John Barrowman created character Captain Jack Harkness. We get a Chula warship. We get a Chula medical ship. We get World War II, barrage balloons, the Blitz, Cockney orphans, zombies, nanogenes, meats, copious meats,
too many meats,
secret gay butcher sex. It's got everything.
Everything.
It's got everything. Yeah, tell them a little bit. What's the basic plot of The Empty Child?
So the Doctor and Rose are there because the TARDIS has noted that something's fallen?
They chase this capsule, lobbing it through the vortex. Which turns out later to be the Chula medicine ship.
Yeah, the ambulance. Yeah,
the ambulance. Yeah, they don't know what it is, but it's careening through the vortex toward Earth, so they're going to follow it to find out where it lands.
What the heck? And they end up staying there, and the Doctor's
That's really exciting as well, when they're like chasing another ship through the vortex. It looks really good, and the pacing's good.
And the Doctor's like, Rose, stay here, don't be causing trouble and stuff.
Don't be getting up to mischiefs.
And he goes into a club to find out if anybody's seen anything that's fallen from the sky recently. And everybody starts laughing, and it's like, don't be stupid. And then the sirens go off, and he realises that they're in the middle of World War II.
Of course they've seen stuff falling from the sky.
Everything is falling from the sky. So they're just like, oh, God, this is going to be harder than I thought. Meanwhile, Rose has obviously wandered off, because she's a companion. Well, she's seen a little boy.
Yeah, she sees a kid on a roof, and she's like, oh God, he's
asking, are you my mummy? And she's like, no, but I'll come and help you, because she can't help herself. And this kid's wearing a gas mask, and she gets up there, and I can't remember what happens. Does she just grab hold of the rope?
I can't remember the exact thing, but she sort of ends up grabbing the balloon, and the barrage balloon. I think she grabs it to climb up to something, and she doesn't realise what it's attached to. Right. Which is a barrage balloon! And a bum gets spotted by some space-age binoculars. Yeah, because the only reason all of this has gone down is because the Doctor refused to, quote, do a scan for alien tech, unquote. And he's like, why just go out and ask? And Rose is thoroughly unimpressed with his completely lo-fi approach. So some electronic space-age binoculars spotting her arse dangling from a rope can mean only one thing: sci-fi protagonist shenanigans. So Rose meets Captain Jack Harkness, a time agent, or rather an ex-time agent, who, again, they don't go into full explanation of what it is. Mm-hmm. They just leave it to like the time agency. Like, what? He's been here for a while.
I love that Rose isn't even like, what? She's just like, okay.
Well, I sort of like it, yeah. She's just kind of like, all right, let's...
There's lots of things
Let's go for this, yeah.
Sure. And also she's wearing, just want to point out, she's wearing a Union Jack t-shirt, which I guess were very big in the 2000s.
I've never seen a blonde wearing a Union Jack. I mean a specific one. I didn't just wake up this morning with craving.
That's true. And the kids laugh, and I'm like, why do you get that joke?
Such a great line.
You shouldn't get that joke.
It's so good.
And she's like hanging from this barrage balloon with a giant Union Jack t-shirt with Germans flying around her. I just think that's absolutely genius.
So Captain Jack is like, hi, you're obviously from the time agency yourself. She's like, yep, sure, that's what we are. We're time agents.
I am.
He's like, great, well, I found a Chula warship, crashed through the vortex, landed here. That's probably what you were tracking. I'm going to sell it to you for a competitive price. Pay up. And Rose is like, sure, yeah, let me talk to my boss. He's the one in charge of the money. Great, let's go find him. She's just blagging the whole thing, obviously trying to undercover find out, why is there an alien time traveller man here? And what What's going on? Meanwhile, the Doctor encounters Nancy and her group of plucky Cockney orphans who are waiting for the air raid sirens and for people to leave their homes and go into shelters and whatnot. They're those who are fortunate enough to have bunkers in the garden and shelters in the garden, so that they can break in, take any food, or take advantage of the hot food on the table that's been served up, feed her little troop of Cockney orphans, and jog right on.
That's so sad that they risk their lives to eat.
Oh, God, yeah.
That's so friggin' sad.
Yeah, it's depressing. It's proper depressing.
But it's also heartwarming that she's, got all these kids together, and she's like, one slice each, like with table manners and stuff like that. I just think that's really adorable. But yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
But accurate.
Yeah. She's played by Florence Hoth, who plays Nancy. I've just looked up.
It's a nice name.
Lovely name, isn't it? There's some great names in the cast of this. The stand-in for the child, the physical child actor who plays the child is Albert Valentine.
Valentine is a great name.
But Florence Hoth, Nancy, this was like her third to last role. She stopped acting in 2008.
Oh, really?
Yeah, called it a day.
God, I thought you were going to say she died or something.
No, she called it a day, which is a shame. Because she's excellent in this.
She's good.
Really good. Nancy warns the Doctor of the child and says to keep away from him because indeed
Don't let him touch you.
The same child Rose saw, this little boy with a gas mask, keeps asking for his mummy.
Mummy.
Which is way scarier than it sounds out loud.
So scary.
Because they do it so well.
I had so many nightmares after watching this the first time. I remember watching it thinking, holy crap, what?
Yeah.
This is a kids show?
Yeah.
I'm going to die in my sleep.
I think our lovely friend Crystal thinks she said that this was her introduction. She caught like the repeat of the Doctor dances. I think it was, and she was like, "That was it." I was like, "I have to see this whole thing. I have to watch it. This is
just to find out
this
what's
is
going
horrifying.
on."
Yeah, this is really creepy. Because it is creepy. The kid is relentlessly pursuing people. It's messing with technology, like the TARDIS phone, which isn't a real phone at this point. Later on, when Moffat takes over, all the bloody phones on the TARDIS work in some capacity, but like at this point, it's not real. Oh yeah, you're not real, and you're ringing.
How are you ringing? This is like shouting at his
dad. Bollocking the phone.
Oh, he's such a good Doctor.
He's brilliant.
He's such a good Doctor.
Brilliant. So. Yeah, it's clearly got some powers, but not only that, Nancy keeps warning the Doctor to stay away from it. She obviously knows more than she's letting on. And by episode's end, the Doctor has gone to see Dr. Constantine. There's a nice moment where she's like, he's at the hospital, have you got to talk to him? And he's like, who is? The Doctor. And the Doctor just sort of gives this look for the scene transitions of like,
hey?
Well, yeah, but not like sort of, no, it can't be. Like, not that, just sort of like, huh? Of course. Like, just sort of gives that little look of like, yeah, sorry, me overreacting. Do you know what I mean? It's all done on his face. It's great. Dr. Constantine, or Dr. Constantine, played by Richard Wilson, isn't it? I don't want to get his surname. Yes, lovely Richard Wilson. He doesn't bloody believe it.
What's that from?
Victor Meldrew, One Foot in the Grave. Probably his most well-known role. I didn't believe it.
That's a good impression.
Thank you. 4291. It's a puppy. Anyway, it's a sitcom. It was great. So, so Richard Wilson here. This was the first time I'd seen him in a non-comedy role myself, and it's great. It's such a brief turn. It's such a brief turn, and it's really chilling because he's a doctor who's been looking after these patients who've all been turning up with gas masks on their faces and the same lacerations on the back of the hands. And on closer inspection, the cuts on the hands are exactly the same, and they're not wearing face masks. Their heads are now face masks. They have face masks as part of their flesh. And after describing what's happened, it's injuries as plague, which is a great description. And he talks about patient zero. It was a child. We kept it in a room on the fifth floor.
Kept it in a room.
No, but that's where we kept it. Like, if you want to learn more, go up there. Because he essentially imparts this knowledge to the doctor. And about the fact that every patient in this ward, though still, is alive. But it's like they're waiting. And then he transforms and gives nightmares to legions of children watching this in 2005. as a gas mask grows out of his face.
Oh,
Oh!
cracking sound.
Yeah, the sound of like bones and flesh
Oof,
rearranging, and
just the fact that you can see
the pain. Are you my mum? It's like
even that was a good impression.
Like
I'm really impressed.
Thank you. I like the sentence is forcing its way. I mean, Nancy says it in part 2, doesn't she? Like it's something's forcing its way out from inside of you. It's horrifying. Important plot point in episode 1: Rose's hands get caught up by the barrage balloon because obviously they rope burn and everything. And,
I'm impressed that she managed to hold on that long.
I mean, you'd hold on for dear life if the alternative was plummeting to your death.
Having seen Shelley dancing with the silks,
yeah.
I'd noticed.
Our friend Shelley is a physical dancer, performer, and silk performer in particular. She does.
iDuo, go and have a look at them. They're amazing.
Yeah. Instagram iDuo.
I would wrap my leg around the rope.
Oh, she does that a little, but like she's also
to get a foot in.
Yeah. Oh, well, she doesn't do that, but she's also not Shelley. Rose.
Oh, sorry. No. What I'm saying is that's what I'd do. I'd wrap it round.
I'm sure that thought would come to you as you're dangling like 400 feet above London, attached to a barrage balloon.
I'm going to tell you a little thing about myself now. When you're a kid, did you ever have to climb a rope?
Yeah, I was terrible at it.
I was really bad at it, and I got a certain amount up, and then I fell, but I held on to it, so I burnt my hands.
Mm.
And ever since then, I have been terrified. I would never be in that situation, but I'm terrified of having to hang on to something for my life. I am actually terrified of it.
Do you know what you need?
I would never be in that situation.
Aside from therapy, do you know what you need?
A gin.
Nanogenes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which fix up Rose's hand. Plot point, save it for later.
Sorry, I went on a tangent again.
Jack and Rose get to the hospital, and everyone gets up. The child's approaching Nancy, who's stuck in the house that they were in before, and all the patients wake up and ask for their mummy. The doctor dances! How is the cliffhanger resolved? As all of these gas mask zombies are...
This is amazing. I forgot he did this. He tells them off. He tells them that he's very cross.
I'm very angry. I am very, very cross.
And you go to your room. And it friggin' works.
They all, including the child, like Nancy's like...
In the dining room of this house.
Obviously we think she's going to die. It's probably not what would happen.
Yeah.
But like Nancy's screwed, and the doctor says that, and all of them, including the kid, leave.
Mm-hmm. Where do they go, though?
Well, they all go back to bed.
Where does the kid go?
He goes back to the hospital. Because remember, they go up to the top floor. Oh my God. Yeah. Because that was its room.
But the doctor's just like, I'm so glad that worked. Those would have been rubbish last words. And I love that this doctor is just like, sometimes he hasn't a clue what he's doing.
Yeah.
He just makes it up as he goes along, and he's lucky that it works. And I just love that.
He's so good. He's excellent. Chris, we've talked about this before. Chris Eccleston has said he doesn't think he played the comedy right.
Oh my God, he absolutely does.
Absolutely does. He's so good at it.
Comedic timing, is so important, and he nails it.
And I think what's great about his comedy in this as well is, I think in the first block it's a bit in places. The first 3 episodes shot were Rose, World War III nailing into London. You can see his comedy delivery in that, because he's not a comedic actor. You can see his comedy delivery in that is not as sharp in those 3 stories as it is in the rest. But by this point, this is like block 3.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know.
He's nailed it in this. He's so good at it, and that delivery in particular is wonderful as we go into the titles.
It's not even what he says; it's his facial expressions. Like he's got a really good face. He's very good at being angry. If you saw his face, you would know he was really like fuming.
I was shitting myself for Adam.
Yeah. It's like a mum. It's like a mum face, you know, like
the
mum look.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Where you can feel like thunder.
Mm.
And then you just go straight to silly big cheesy grin. I just think that's amazing.
So they go up to the room to find this is where the child had been kept. There are drawings essentially of mummy. There's drawings of women and women with a little kid. It's like looking for mum. And of course, he sent it to its room, so it arrives there. Nancy's briefly caught by the owner of the house. She manages to get away long enough to go back to her group and be like, look, just, you have to carry it. You're in charge now. I'm going. Because
Well, she's going to investigate, isn't she?
She's
She's
going to
like,
investigate
if I don't
the crash
come
site.
back.
Yeah, but she's like, I don't think she ever intends to come back to him, because as long as it's around, it's after her. Because they're like, it keeps coming after us, the child, and she's like, no, it doesn't come after you. It comes after me.
Yeah.
We learn that the child communicates through what do you call it? Speaker. Anything with a speaker grill and any form of communication, it seems to have a power over. Because at this point, it's almost like it's got telekinetic abilities of some kind. Like it's a plague, and it infects these other people, but it's able to communicate through stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Jack has the same technology on his ship, where anything with a speaker grill, he can hack into it, and like patch into those comms, and broadcast. Because he teleports out of the hospital, goes back to his ship, and the doctor tries to resonate concrete, and the long-running subtext of part 2 begins of, I've shagged. No, you've not. Yes, I have. All right, show me your shags. All right, I'll shag you all. It works really well in this story. It's very strange when you think of like Moffat's version of the show later on, where it's so sexually driven.
Oh no, I didn't make that connection.
Yeah, no. It works really well here.
Moffat, what is the matter with you?
This alongside the last couple of episodes, the long game in particular, are the ones where we really get the sense that maybe the Dr. Rose thing is a bit romantic. Like, maybe it is leaning a little bit more into a romance. You can see the
spark between them.
Like, yeah, really and it's mostly because he gets jealous and she teases him about it. Like, do you know what I mean? He gets jealous when she has attention on other people. And she teases him around it. I still don't buy that this Doctor and Rose are a completely romantic relationship.
Not yet.
I think the foundation of it is in this version of their pairing. It reaches its culmination on purpose, and we'll talk about this as we go along, next series.
Yeah.
But, again, it's the way Eccleston and Piper play it. You're like, yeah, this doesn't feel weird, considering all the complaints that, Grace and the Doctor snogging in the TV movie got and everything. Now people really railed against that. Like, I don't remember there being as much of an uproar around this. This felt organic, and I think it's down to the delivery.
I think it's the build-up as well.
Plus the fact that episode 1's so sexual anyway, just because of how Jack's interacting and flirting with Rose and the commander that he's clearly been seeing as well, like while they've been stationed in London together and everything.
He's got a nice bottom.
You have an excellent bottom too.
Excellent bottom.
Excellent bottom. Algie, that's his name.
Can you imagine somebody in a sexy way saying, you have a nice bottom?
Excellent bottom.
Well, saying it in a British accent, actually, is not that bad.
You have a lovely bottom.
Saying it, yeah, okay. But in an American accent, it sounds a bit silly.
So, they manage to learn what they can. They get out, and the Doctor pieces it together a little bit. Like, there's more going on. So they arrive, they examine the Chula warship, which turns out to be, yes, an ambulance, but it's not a medical ship, because Jack confesses that he knew that it was useless. It was just...
And he thought that it was empty.
He thought it was just an empty thing.
Empty ambulance.
And what was going to happen was he knew, because of the history of the area, he knew that a bomb was going to hit that site that night at a specific time. So the whole point of this con was someone would come through, he'd sell them the Chula warship, the person who'd found it and tracked it, and then it'd get blown up before they could retrieve it. But by that point, the sale's made. He was going to, commiserations, and then they'd be off on their way. It wasn't empty. It was full of nanogenes. Because Jack's ship is a stolen Chula ship as well. Yeah. Same technology. This isn't a psychokinetic godchild, although I love the fact they keep setting up the old idea of the power of a god in the hands of a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And I just set it to its room.
What wouldn't...
What 4-year-old wouldn't tear the world apart to be with their mummy?
For its mummy.
Yeah. Nanogenes escaped, found the first organic biological thing nearby, which was, it seems, the body of Jamie.
So did that? So it
either that crashed on him, or he died on that site not long before it arrived. It crashed or was opened.
Because I'm sure Nancy said that the bomb had killed him.
A bomb had killed him, but I don't know if it's confirmed that it's that specifically landing on him or if it's just a bomb on that site. Point is, it found a broken person, either dead or just clinging to life, and fixed him.
Yeah.
But
they had no idea
with a hollow hair. Yeah, it doesn't.
No idea what a human is.
It's never seen a human from this time period or anything like that.
It's just assuming that that's
its face.
This is what it is.
Which is why when you see through the lenses in a few shots, like it's just hollow inside the head. It's why he's got everyone who gets thinking, because then they do their job. They repair people. They're nanogenes from a war. They're there to like make people better, heal people, and get them ready for the fight. So it fixes them from what it thinks is fixed. Scars on the back of the hands, gas mask for a head, all looking for Mummy, because that's obviously their mission. That's what they're all out there to do.
Because that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, and they've all got super strength. And they all are able to patch into comms because that's whatever the warriors needed in the war with the Chulan people are involved in. And it's like, oh, that's terrifying, but also really heartbreaking. And the Doctor clocks it before the bomb can arrive, which Jack snags in a tractor beam and takes away from the site. The Doctor, who has like no way out, there's no way out of this. He says to Rose, well, it's like, I've got no plan. I don't know what to do. And then he clocks. Nancy is not Jamie, the child's brother. Jamie's not her brother.
Mm-hmm.
Jamie's her son. She was an underage mother. And when she finally sort of comes to terms with that...
An underage mother?
Underage mum?
A young mum?
Oh, young mum. Underage pregnancy. Because they talk about the fact she got pregnant at like 14, 15, old enough to give birth at least. But like, obviously...
Underage mum just sounds like a really weird phrase.
Which the point is, she kept it quiet and she told people it was her brother because it was obviously very shameful
at the time
that she would have a child. Mm. Yeah, because the whole point of it is like she's older than she looks, but even so, like the whole point of the cover up is that she had a baby when she should not have had a baby.
Mm.
And it'd be in the 1940s, you know, hell, the stigma around all that now, even under circumstances where it's out of the mother's control.
Yeah.
Like, imagine what it's like for the 40s. She comes to terms with it and tells Jamie who she is. And the nanogenes, the clever little bastards, figure it out.
That they have the same DNA.
Yeah, she's the mother, she's the paternal DNA construct from which he is a product of.
Mm-hmm.
They clock it, and
they fix it.
They heal Jamie up, and then the Doctor flings the nanites at everyone else, all the other Chula war soldiers that have gathered around with their gas mask faces, and repairs some of them way too much, like the lady whose legs grow back. There is a war. This is possibly miscounted. So good.
So funny.
And it's wonderful because, of course, like Eccleston delivers it beautifully, but the everybody lives moment, the idea that we've got to the end of a Doctor Who story, particularly in a series where there has been a very consistent body count throughout the whole series. There is a lot of death this series, so much death.
It really is.
We have a story where not a single fatality occurs. Not a single one, because it all gets fixed.
Yeah.
Which is what I love, the whole, like, come on, please, give me this. Give me a day like this. It's just like... Oh, you can feel it building up. The fact that he's like, I can't believe that like we're going to get out of this and everyone's going to be alive. The only risk left, of course, alongside the actual risk of the war, which is brilliant, the scene where Rose talks to Nancy and basically just says, don't tell anyone, but you win. Like, England wins. We don't, like, the Germans do not win this. Is brilliant. I love that bit because it is proper kind of like you're technically changing history, but after what Nancy's seen, she ain't telling anyone. And it's not like she can affect the outcome of the war, but like that's such
a slight bit of hope.
She's like, here's your hope. You will get out of it. She doesn't tell her when. She doesn't say how. Yeah. But you will get out of this.
Rose says we're from the future, and Nancy's
she's like, how come you're not German?
Well. What do you mean? What future?
Yeah.
And that's so depressing. I can't even imagine what it must have felt like at the time. And she says you're not German, and it's like, oh my god, we win! Don't worry, everything will be okay.
The only fatality that could occur, of course, is Jack, who sort of accepts his responsibility. He knows that all this has happened because of him, and the likelihood of him surviving this is very slim. But once he's up in the air with the bomb, he's like, right, okay, so let's jettison it. How far up can we jettison it without the blast hitting anybody? And the onboard computer's like, not going to happen. Like,
not far enough.
The way the bomb is right now, the moment you manage to like freeze it in time, it's going to blow the moment it's shunted. Right, what if we put it in an escape pod? There is no escape pod. What if I get in an escape pod? There is no escape pod. And he's like, shit. So
well,
no matter what, he's going to die.
Yeah.
So he orders, like, he puts a special command in, which brings him a martini.
Yeah. With too much vermouth.
And I love that. See if I come here again. Barrowman's great in this. What really a wonderful introduction to this character. Yeah. Like, so sleazy, but, like, oozing with charm and sexuality in a way that's not gross. It is. It's sleazy, but, like, you come out of this going, do you know what? He's great. I would happily watch more stories with him.
Yeah.
It's sort of it's like the Han Solo kind of vibe.
Yeah.
And I love the whole thing where he's like, yeah, last time I was facing death, like I was going to be executed, I ordered 4 hyper vodkas. A bit of a blur after that. Woke up the next day in bed with both my executioners. Lovely couple. They stayed in touch. It's like, what is... And this sort of subtly sets up an arc as well. The idea that the reason he's off doing what he's doing, the reason he left the time agency and became a con man, a grifter, is because he woke up one day doing jobs for this organisation with 2 years of his memory missing. And he felt betrayed. So when he realised he wasn't going to get answers, he left them.
Yeah.
Giving him an arc. And it's as soon as they said... I remember watching this in 2005. As soon as they said that, I was like, he's going to be in the next one. I was like, there's too much going on here.
Yeah, it's
he's
too
definitely
much
going to carry on.
information about him for him not to be an integral character.
Which happens at the end. The TARDIS materialises. They invite him in. Everyone has a boogie.
Hurry up then.
Yeah.
Your ship's about to explode. There'll be a draft.
And he's welcomed aboard the TARDIS. I love the whole. It's bigger on the inside. And the Doctor just goes, "You better be." You're like, ooh. But you can see why he's that hostile after what's happened in the last 2 stories. Jack joins the TARDIS and off we fly. This is great. This may be this may be the strongest 2-parter out of the 3 this series, but I'm biased because the last 2-part of this series is my favourite story of the modern era. So tough for me. How about you? Where do you stand on the Doctor Dancers and the Empty Child?
I think this is one of my favourite stories ever.
Because you're big on period history stuff.
Yeah.
You're big on your World War kind of historical stuff as well.
Oh my god, love it. Can't get enough of it. Purely because it's hard to imagine being in that situation, so you try and learn everything about it just to have a grasp of the horrors of it. But
it's also amazing to just learn about like the actual...
Knowing that I have family that went through that.
The strength of humanity and the human spirit to get through something so fucking diabolical.
That's where the Keep Calm and Carry On came from, and the empowerment to women during that time was just like amazing. But anyway, I digress. It's got everything in it. It's got crazy adventure. It's essentially got zombies in it.
Yeah. It's super strong telekinetic zombies.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
Sorry, technokinetic zombies. Yeah, really creepy.
And it's
the fact that it becomes an airborne plague as the story develops, which then makes sense because you're like the nanites. They've done their test run, and now they're just going to spread.
Just going to spread, yeah.
Yeah.
Because everybody needs fixing.
Yeah, everyone on the planet.
And I just think that's so creepy, but the fact that everybody lives and the Doctor is so outrageously happy about it.
Yeah.
I just think that's really, 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 really amazing.
It's wonderful. The whole story's wonderful.
I think the sets are amazing. The music is amazing.
Yeah, Murray Gold's score really shines actually in this series to me the most in this 2-parter and in Father's Day.
Yeah.
The use of music in those two stories in particular is
Makes a
very,
massive
very
difference.
effective. Yeah.
I think Father's Day is underrated massively.
It sort of gets missed off when people do like, oh, the best episodes of the modern era. It's like, I think it
it's-
should be a contender. It's very, very good.
I think out of most of Doctor Who, I think this is one of the most relatable ones. Because that's a situation that, if you were given the opportunity, like I was saying, you would find yourself in.
Yeah. However, if you're listening to this review and thinking, actually, I relate more to Adam stealing secrets, then
you're a butthole. You should make better choices.
Yeah. What do you think of these 4 stories, folks? Let us know down below. We love them. I mean, I love this whole series, so I'm biased. You might have to press the off button here because I'm trapped under a dog.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
Worst excuse ever. But also the best excuse.
Next time, I'm actually super reluctant to get to next time because it means the end of my favourite series and the last 3 stories with my favourite Doctor.
I'm all tangled.
But yeah, brace yourself if you're watching along with us. Now's your time to watch Boomtown, Bad Wolf, and The Parting of the Ways. By the way, Bad Wolf count. Bad Wolf TV was one of the channels.
It's shown up
on Satellite 5, and the German words inscribed on the side of the bomb were Bad Wolf.
And also, I'm pretty sure it was it was on one of the posters that they walked past in Father's Day.
Yes, yeah, the opening shots.
It wasn't
the alley,
there the first time, but it was the second time.
Yes, yeah, we noticed that on this watch through, didn't we?
Yeah.
It wasn't prominent the first time, but the second time it was there. Ooh, God, I love that. Hey, how to do a story arc that isn't distracting when it's a brand new program, essentially. Sew it in subtly. Works well for this
and
era.
And it makes you want to go back and see it. So
works well for this era. Works very well for the first Moffat series as well. So,
and also this artwork is beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous, isn't it? We for those who are asking, we collected the steelbooks up to the specials. I didn't bother with series 5, 6, 7, or the one as of this video recording. Up for pre-order as of today is the 50th anniversary steelbook, which is basically the contents of the special box set. So it's also got Time of the Doctor in. Haven't bothered with them because we already have 5, 6, 7 and the specials on Blu-ray. We've got Series 8 on Blu-ray.
And we don't love it as
9,
as
10 and Twice Upon a Time on DVD. 11 and 12 on Blu-ray. So
we're not rushing.
Well, also, you need to buy them at the time because they get pretty expensive.
Yeah, we do.
But I wanted this
one.
era on Blu-ray, so I got it.
And we've got 10 on the end, haven't we?
This whole era.
Yeah.
The Russell T Davies era, we have these steelbooks of. They're very tasty. As are you lot. Thanks for watching. I've been Chris.
I've been Not Chris.
And now Not Chris is going to try and figure out how to stop the record.
I have no idea how you do it.
There's a button there on the touchscreen with a red circle.
Yeah.
You just press that button on the touchscreen.
Ooh. Wins.